It began at an Army base. An outbreak of what seemed to be a dangerous case of a new kind of flu had infected over 200 soldiers at an Army base in Fort Dix, New Jersey, in February. 2 soldiers, apparently in the peak of health, died suddenly. Scared public health officials wondered what to do next. The fast deaths reminded them of the 1918 flu epidemic, when healthy young people were most likely to get ill and die. Officials at the CDC had a close look at the lab results to see what had happened to the 2 men. By the middle of the month, CDC officials believed they had a potentially huge epidemic on their hands. They asked the government for $135 million. This was intended to create a vaccine to fight off what they'd dubbed the swine flu. The president authorized the money to develop and fund the vaccine. Administration officials loudly told the public they aimed to get every single American vaccinated against swine flu by the end of the year. Ford and his scientists around him understandably felt the Fort Dix virus had parallels with the 1918 flu outbreak. Pascal Imperato was New York City's deputy health commissioner at that time. He was also the chair of a task force charged with ensuring millions of New Yorkers were vaccinated. Imperato believed the distribution of the swine flu vaccine was one of the nation's largest and most ambitious public health projects. This was not the first time New Yorkers lined up to get a vaccine. Nearly 30 years before, millions of city residents had agreed to get vaccinated against smallpox. This time, the rest of the nation would have to agree to do the same thing on an even larger scale. Nonetheless, millions of Americans heeded the president's call and got vaccinated. By the end of October 1976, about 25% of all Americans, or about 45 million people, got a dose of the swine flu vaccine. President Ford even went on television to demonstrate that he, too, had been vaccinated. And yet, the expected outbreaks of swine flu continually failed to happen. Baffled scientists did not understand what was really going on at the time. Researchers failed to understand benign swine flu strains had long been in circulation well before the incident at the Army base in New Jersey. They were all too haunted by their desire to remake history and ward off what they felt might happen instead of what actually was going on at the time. Millions of people had died in the 1918 flu epidemic. Had scientists been able to make a vaccine at that time, it is likely they would have saved a great many people from a cruel death. In trying to learn from history, scientists failed to grasp that the source of the 1918 infection had been from birds rather than swine. Meanwhile, the American population remained on edge during the entire year as they were constantly anticipating terrifying symptoms and the possibility of death.